because I think we'd all agree that's very, very important. So, our final act for tonight and performing in this amphitheatre is In Situ, who are going to take us through something maybe a little bit more different. Over to you, Simon and Seb. Hello.
So, evening everyone. So, we are In Situ. We're an architecture and design studio, and we focus on making live installations for music events of maybe a smaller sort of scale. So we come from architectural background, but we're big fans of hip hop, and that was kind of our grounding for getting into the whole thing. So hip hop as a culture has got a really rich sort of precedent of design for architects and designers such as yourself. So it's a very community-driven culture. It's all about DIY. It's all about spatial reappropriation for the community within the city. So when the architects get it wrong, the community brings it back, spray paints, graffitis, does the block party. And this is becoming a more and more sort of popular thing within the city. So urban block parties, like one we got up here, was Notting Hill Carnival. Becoming more and more popular every year. And like this is part of the festival sort of circuit now. So when we were going to like live music events, which is something that we're really passionate about, we noticed that there's like quite a one-dimensional sort of relationship between audience and the actual performer. So they sort of perform, the audience sort of shouts, whereas actually a space is quite a bit boring and sort of left behind. So we want to make something that's a bit more immersive, kind of like the work of Ed Devlin, who works with a lot of sort of digital and a lot of mirrors and a lot of projections and things like that to create these sort of really immersive spaces that kind of sink you into the world that she's trying to sort of express, and the work of the artist as well. So this is our first event that we did. You can't really see it very well, but it's called Future Icons Volume 1, and it was basically 5 artists we put together. We sort of organised the space, and we did the architecture behind it and put it all together and got everyone down as like a live manifesto of what we were really interested in doing. So again, you can't see this that well, but it has like these sort of tubes of plastic that stretch across the ceiling, and these were lit with projections and lighting to sort of create this really dynamic space that then responded to the artists as the night went on. And you know, we kind of threw all this together, so this is the sort of DIY aspect of the culture coming. So this is Kanye West's floating stage, which you might have seen from the St. Pablo tour. This is obviously the more high end of the scale, so this is becoming a lot more popular to have an architectural response to this. But most people can't sort of afford to have a floating stage, especially when you've got like 200 people in a tiny room in Brixton or wherever. So we're more about the small scale. This is a slide which shows a projection screen from the Photo London 2016, which we did at Somerset House, and it was basically about creating this sort of space and parties during the daytime and the nighttime. So during the daytime we'd have projections for the event, and during the nighttime we'd have like these sort of light strips that then lit up the whole space and chopped up this really sort of dank, dark sort of space and brought it all to life on like a really, really small budget. So just putting it all together and throwing it together.
And then from that event, we took our own recordings and like social media content and started to overlay all of that digital media into a kind of collage of different physical and digital representations, which is something we're really interested in, exploring the kind of dynamics between the digital realm and like the physical installation world. And this is an example of like a big inspiration for us, a piece called Layer 3 by Flying Lotus, the producer. And what this is like 2 projection screens either side of the DJ, and projected from like back and front, and it kind of creates this like 3-dimensional quality and adds real depth to the whole performance. And this is something we're developing at the moment. It's similar kind of vein. This is for a New York-based producer called Sporting Life, and this kind of takes the idea of projecting onto perspex with this, you know, it has a real weight to it, and then but rather than projecting behind, bringing that like right at the front, around the DJ booth, kind of bringing it right into the audience and trying to break or open up that relationship between performer and audience further. This is another thing we're kind of exploring at the moment. Like there's a lot of experimentation in our practice and trying out different kind of ways of interaction and stuff. So this is something for festivals that we're going to try and take around this year and next year, which is like an interactive piece where this is a kind of prototype of it, where these touchpads kind of create sound and light in the vein of like a drum machine, and that's what we're working on with the help from our technical wizards. I think some of them are here tonight. Yeah, that's what we're working on at the moment. And then another bit of experimentation is some hologram work, which does actually work. I don't know how we made it work, but we kind of fell into it, and it's something we're trying to refine at the moment, kind of based on mirrors, perspex, and projections themselves. And it's kind of like a formula that I don't quite understand, but it kind of works, and we're going to develop that further. And this is like the early designs of our latest event, which was basically in this venue called Grow in Hackney Wick, kind of trying to create a kind of immersive kind of canopy with like using projections to kind of create this evolving dynamic kind of space above the audience. And this is kind of a photo from the night. So using the projections onto these kind of like rectangular projection screens, just using kind of like fabric and like timber frames, and kind of really illuminating the space and kind of creating something that's, rather than just being like background to the performance, it's like an extension of the actual performance itself. It's an extension of the DJ's music choices, all this kind of thing, and like bringing that like right over the audience. So it kind of, yeah, like we were saying before, breaks down that singular dynamic and kind of really starts to open up the space in like new, unexplored ways, and at the same time kind of celebrating readily accessible kind of evolving technology and digital content that we can kind of produce at like a rapid scale these days. And interestingly, from that screen that was like, you know, horizontal above the audience, we saw this at Coachella a week later, done by Kendrick Lamar, which is basically quite a big rip-off of our design. But yeah, so I think we're kind of on the right direction.
That was another amazing talk, and I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank all of our speakers. I don't know if anyone's ever done one of these on-the-timer presentations before, but they're actually incredibly difficult, and everyone tonight made it look really easy. So thank you to our speakers. If I can get a round of applause. So I promised I'd do a quick roundup, but